Well, hey kids, Grandpa here with some paper. Gotta do another video here. This is a response video to my buddy Brad over at Big Family Homestead. Brad just did a video called Going Off Grid Should I? And this is a video response to that video. No. There's always something that needs fed up here on Grandpa's farm in Alaska. A place where you're always welcome. Come on, Lily. Let's go feed. Let's talk about definition, shall we? What does it mean to go off-grid? What does off-grid mean? Now, I've been a real estate broker for most of my adult life. 58 years old as of a couple days ago. Been selling real estate for 30-some years now. And the definition has remained the same everywhere I've lived. Off-grid means you're not connected to electrical power. Period. Has nothing to do with telephone, internet, road system, remote, not remote. It simply means you're not connected to the electric grid. You're not connected to electric power. You don't have electric in your house. That's what off-grid means. So let's talk about what that means for you. If you are connected to the grid, you're utilizing today's latest technology. Power is generated by highly regulated, very efficient power generation systems that in today's standards are generating very little pollution as compared to the alternatives. Whether it's diesel powered, coal powered, hydroelectric dam powered, whatever, and now a lot of them are adding solar and wind. Whatever the generation source that utility is doing in mass is a lot more efficient than anything you can do on your own at home. It's more efficient in cost, and it's more efficient in the impact into our environment. Okay, so let's talk about the alternatives. I don't have grid. Let's say you're not connected to the power. So how are you going to keep your refrigerator going? I have a refrigerator sitting right here next to me. You can probably hear it humming away as we speak. Well, the only alternative for refrigeration off-grid is propane. Or putting in a diesel generator and powering your property with a diesel generator. So let's look at propane. Propane is a fossil fuel, no different than the coal or propane that the power generation facilities are already using. It increases the chance of having a fire inside your home. Propane's very expensive. It adds a lot of moisture into the house, so you're dealing with molds and what have you. And propane's very expensive. Powering a propane refrigerator costs generally about 8 times more than an electric refrigerator. It's not an efficient system. And you have to wrestle your propane bottles in and out, or have a system for somebody being able to get propane to you. Not uncommon up here in Alaska to see a lot of these guys going to their remote cabins in the wintertime with snowmobiles, dragging a trailer full of 100-pound bottles of propane. Dangerous. One of those bottles gets purged, gets hit somehow. Someone, stray bullet hits one, it could blow up, be a bomb. Just a dangerous situation. So for refrigeration, your only real good opportunity is propane if you're off-grid. Electric lights, what do you do for lighting? Well, you can have candles, or you can have oil lanterns for light, or you can go with batteries. And if you're going with some sort of batteries, electric systems, what have you, AA, AAA batteries, you're just making a ton of crap for the landfill and really creating a toxic mess for the planet. So that's not a real viable way to go. What else does electric do for you? Well, it powers the camera that I am recording this with. It powers the internet and all my TV screens and computers here. All that gets generated with electricity. If I'm not connected to the grid, then I would have to have some alternative generation system for that. I could have a hydroelectric plant if I am in the right location. Those tend to be somewhat efficient, although they're still reliant on a battery bank system. I could have a solar system. And a solar system, again, is reliant on a battery bank system for the most part. Or I could have some sort of a diesel or gasoline generator. In any event, any of those options are either more harmful to the planet than being on the grid, or more expensive to operate. You simply cannot have a generator that's going to generate electricity, even up here in Alaska, as remote as I am, I think I'm paying 7 cents a kilowatt hour. So 7 cents a kilowatt hour. So for every 1,000 watts of electricity I consume per hour, it costs me 7 cents. My electric bill up here is about $140 or so a month. Average electric bill in the United States is around $250 to $300. Most people have a lot of electronic appliances. When we were in Montana, our electric bill was $250. We had a dishwasher, an electric dryer, and electric hot water heater. Because there's some other things you need to consider. Without electricity, how are you going to heat your water? Again, you go to propane. That can be expensive. If you want to have a clothes dryer, then you have to go to gas, propane again. That can be expensive. Your hot water heater and your propane will consume more energy than any other devices in your home. So if you have a hot water heater system and you have a clothes dryer, big, huge energy hogs. A dishwasher, again, another big, huge energy hogs. Electric stoves, big, huge energy hogs. Also, you can go to a gas stove. So, okay, you're still having flames, open flames, and the propane stored outside, and the possibility for gas leaks, and all of the problems and issues and security things that brings with it. Okay, so in order to have the TV, the internet, and all that, I'm telling you the best thing to do is to stay attached to the grid. Why is that? Because it's a high efficient system. It's low cost to me, both initially in getting set up and long term for having power from them. Yes, I do got to kind of deal with the power company. Yes, it's a pain in the butt getting a bill. But, you know, for that convenience, I am enjoying a whole lot of quality of life issues you cannot do off grid. Okay, solar systems is a viable option. Let me tackle that one first, because that's the biggest misnomer. Everyone thinks, well, I can have a solar system. I can put in some solar panels. There you go. Electric light, okay? Try to light up my face so I look a little better for you guys. And what am I using? A rechargeable light. See, don't I look better now? Not quite so washed out on this side in the dark. Getting dark here in Alaska. Solar system. So you put in some solar panels and you're collecting a lot of energy. That's great. Up here in Alaska, in the wintertime, not too great. We have a lot of darkness. But even if I was in some place like South Florida or Texas or Louisiana, you know, where I'm getting lots of sunlight all day long, it's still not an efficient system, because at night the sun goes away, and now I have to have that energy stored in batteries. That way the batteries provide me with a smooth transition of power. I don't have big, you know, whips and doos. It's steady power, steady electric. But those battery banks are now, you know, they're going to last just so long, and then I'm going to have to replace them, and now I'm creating toxic landfills again. I'm sorry, I love our planet too much. I pray for the health of my grandchildren and great-grandchildren and after them, and I'm not going to do anything today that's going to hurt them in the future by buying a bunch of batteries and creating all that toxic landfill. Batteries are toxic landfill, folks. That's what makes landfills toxic, is all the car batteries, and now people house batteries from solar systems and what have you. Now, there is a good option with solar, and let me discuss that in a minute. There's something called grid tie solar, and let me explain to you how this works. Yes, you have electric coming in from the power company, same as you would on any normal house, but now you put solar panels out to generate your power. During the daytime, when the sun's out, those panels will generate more than enough electricity for everything that you need. That excess electricity gets the power meter going the other way. Instead of coming in, it starts going out. Now the meter is running down instead of running up. That power is being pushed back up the line to the power company. Can they handle that? Yes, they can. They're designed for that. So your panels can generate all the electricity that you want, and it'll reverse your meter during the day, and at night when it gets dark, then that meter turns the other way and you start using that power back. You're using the power grid, the immensity of the power grid, as a battery system. You're pushing that back up the wire and then pulling it back as you need it. That is, without a doubt, one of the most ecologically sound ways of having an electric system and having a sort of off-grid situation. Of course, the problem is the upfront cost, you know, that's $30,000, $40,000 probably in putting in that solar system to begin with. Of course, there's a lot more cheaper systems today. You might be able to do it for 5 or 10 or 15. But think about my house, my little cabin here. I have 200 amps of 240 volt electric coming in. If I was to replace that with solar panels, you know, nice big solar panels, you know, 500, maybe 600 watts, 600 watts, you know, 200 amps at 240 volt. That's a whole lot of those panels. That's more than I could fit around my house without looking like some sort of NASA space station. It's not practical. It's just not practical. So, okay, let me see. Should I get off the grid? Let me see my other response in my notes. All right, what's the intent of going off the grid? And this, I think, is probably the biggest part of this that I think people look at. People mistake the word going off the grid for not so much just the clinical definition of off the grid, which is, you know, not being connected to the electric, but they take a bigger scope of it, being off the grid, you know, getting away from everybody, being more remote, maybe not having internet and not having TV. Yeah, it's just crazy. I know some folks that are off-gridders that don't have electric to their house, but then they have to get in their car and drive 20 miles to the library to get on the internet to do anything. Actually, some YouTube creators do that, which is ridiculous waste of fossil fuel. Driving to the post office, and then you're using the library's internet and their electricity, so you're just putting your responsibility off on somebody else. It's just ridiculous. I never want to make somebody else responsible for the damage I'm doing to the planet. It's my fault. I take responsibility for everything I do. So getting off the grid because you're in that romantic notion of kind of being away from stuff, and I get that, but that's not off grid. That might be disconnecting from society, that might be any number of other things, but that's not off grid. Off grid means you don't have those wires connected to your house to bring power in. That's all off grid means. In the broader sense that people are trying to apply to it now, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I don't like being part of the man's system. I kind of like being independent the way I am. I live in a 16-foot by 16-foot dry cabin here in Alaska. Yes, I am on the grid. I have electric. I have internet. My TVs are working. I don't have a generator system or a solar system here. If I was going to stay here in Alaska, I would do a solar array grid tie system. But, you know, at my age, I'm 58 years old, I don't know that I would ever recover that investment. The money it would take me to put that system in, I don't know that I would ever get that back. And then, you know, there's a question about just how long do solar panels last. Some solar panels, you know, they really have no moving objects. They might last a long, long time. But it seems to me the environment and things get to them, and they tend to break down in the UV lights and what have you, and they wear. So, questionable about that. Let's talk about heating systems. Without electricity, you have to heat with propane, or you have to heat with wood or diesel fuel oil. I choose to heat with wood. Sorry about snoring here, but the dog's sleeping in her crate and she's snoring away. All right, woke her up. Wood heat. I like wood heat. I like the feel of wood heat in the house. I like the smell of wood heat when I'm walking around the outside of my house. I don't like the dust from the wood heat. I don't like the labor from the wood heat. But I also like the fact that I own 80 acres. Wood is a renewable resource. I can cut all the trees I want on my 80 acres, and I will never run out of trees. I don't burn anywhere near enough wood to impact the wood that's being generated on an annual basis on my 80 acres. It's growing faster than I can burn it. In fact, up here in Alaska, I think 20 acres would probably be more than enough to keep me in a lifetime supply of firewood. And I really like the idea of burning firewood to heat my house, which is a renewable resource, and I'm not burning any kind of fossil fuel or anything else. Now, the problem with wood is it creates a lot of pollution. I have seen clouds of smoke hovering out here in front of my cabin from the exhaust from my wood stove. When I move to Ohio and I set up a new cabin with a new wood stove, I will have a catalytic heaters type wood stove, which gives a second burn into the gases, and it's a much more efficient, less polluting system of wood stove. Up here in Alaska, I don't. I have an older wood stove. Actually, it's just a cheap Chinese-made wood stove, and it pollutes a lot. It does. It pollutes a lot more than if I were to tie into the grid and put electric heaters in here. Of course, electric heaters up here in Alaska would be an expensive way to go, but it would certainly be the least impact to our environment by going that direction. That is because I'm on my electric company here uses coal. It's a coal-fired system, and it's a high efficient, low sulfur coal that they're burning. I don't buy into the nuclear option. Anytime you have that toxic waste, you have that toxic waste. Those spent nuclear rods last forever. Forever. Okay, so I think I've covered all the bases. To answer the question that Brad was asking, where'd he go? To answer the question what Brad was asking, going off the grid, should I? No. Don't go off the grid. The thing you can do that's best for our environment is to stay on the grid on a socially conscious electrical company. Find out what they're using the power to make your coal, and then make your decision. If you live someplace that's working on nuclear power, move. It's the end result, move. If you don't want to be tied to the grid because you don't want to have to deal with the person on the other line calling you up and bugging you about not paying your electric bill on time, well, then get a handle on your economy and get a handle on your spending habits. Don't blame the grid for your mistakes and shortcomings. If they're calling you because you're not paying the bill, pay the bill. Be more conscientious about that. Take responsibility for yourself. I guess that's a big part of my message to everybody out there, is just kind of take responsibility for yourself. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing, and don't put other people down. Try to lift them up, try to help them, but be responsible for yourself. Anyhow, I'm going to end this here. To answer the question, should I go off grid? Answer is resounding no. If you like this video, or if you don't like this video and you want to hear more of me, then please do subscribe, and we will try to catch you another day. Thanks, folks. Have a good day. How about them toad suckers? Ain't they sappy? Sucking them toads all sure make them happy. Hug 'em mugger toad suckers way down south. Sticking them sucky toads in zay mouth. I be a toad sucker knowing to duck it. You just find an old toad and you rear back and suck it. Folks, you have a good day. Bye.